Back on a Tuesday here at the Voice of College Football. Appreciate you being here for the best in discussion, debate, and analysis. This is the College Football Show. It's your college football show of record each and every day. Again, comments and questions are always welcome here at the Voice of College Football. We are running down our coaches' rankings for 2025. We ran down our 2024 rankings on Monday. A few people were confused. Thought those were the current rankings, just thought it would be fun to look back 1 year and show how much perception has changed concerning a number of college football coaches and how much their performance from one season to the next has probably altered their ranking, whether real or perceived. Comments, questions are welcome. We'll leave the call-in line in the chat, of course, to take on whatever you've got concerning college football discussion today. Before we get to the coaches' rankings, and I may adjust those on the fly because similar to the current program rankings that we ran down about 4 to 6 weeks ago, there's certainly an opportunity that I will want to look through them one more time. And so I may make some adjustments on the fly, but I think I got it pretty much where I would like it. Again, this is something we do each and every year here at the Voice of College Football, but my laziness has caused me not to produce videos on this because it's just not worth it. So we just present them live, at least this particular off season. College Football Show comes your way Monday through Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. However, this Friday, we're going late night. Tukey G says, Tukey G and I Bleed Orange combined for the effort this time around. So they made the call. If you have yet to hear, we are going late night at least once a week going forward through the off season, and you may have the opportunity to make the call on when we go live for the late night call-in show. The day, the time, it's up to you. It's in your hands. And Tukey G and I Bleed Orange were the first to respond on Monday. So we go live, let's say Friday at 10 p.m. Eastern Time. How about that? 10 p.m. Eastern Time on Friday, taking your calls. All right. Disputed National Champions is the book. You can pick up a copy on Amazon, and we have conveniently provided the link down in the description section below. How about that? The link is right there for you. Best college football read for you this year. Disputed National Champions of the 1990s, not just a history book, but we plug in all the results and look forward to how this would have played out each and every year into the 4-team, 12-team, 14-team, and the BCS eras. And, of course, our goal in mind with this book was to have fun, number one. Number two, to enlighten some folks to not necessarily being group thinkers, thinking on your own, processing the information, the data, the performance, the records, everything on our own, and determining who rightfully won national championships and who got screwed. There we go. All right, before we get to the coaches' rankings, and it's good to see Troy V and Jim and Jackson, Tukey G's here. Doreen, good to see you as well. And anybody else, just, hey, give me a hi there in the chat. That would be a nice neighborly thing to do. Let's get to the news of the day. We do have some news from the transfer portal. We've also got some news of a fairly light variety, but we do have this Boise State head coach, Spencer Danielson, who did a heck of a job last year. They played Penn State to a 4-quarter game, and he gets a contract extension, of course. You have one big year in college football, you get a contract extension. That's how it works. So this comes in from Pete Thamel. Boise State has finally finalized a new contract for Coach Spencer Danielson in the wake of leading the Broncos to the CFP. 5-year deal through the 2029 season. Sources said it will double his salary. That's pretty good. So he'll average $2.2 million over the course of the deal. So he was averaging just over $1 million. So they had Danielson on the cheap there for a year or so. He took over late the previous season when Andy Avalos was shown the door. Danielson's only 36, led Boise State to a 12-2 record, the Mountain West Conference Championship, and of course the Fiesta Bowl appearance against Penn State after they received a bye in the playoffs. He's led Boise State to a pair of Mountain West titles, including one during his interim season. Again, took over for Andy Avalos at the conclusion of 2023. He's 15-3 overall, lost to UCLA in the LA Bowl the previous season, Oregon in the regular season, Penn State in the CFP. No shame in that. Quote, Spencer's proven to be the right leader at the right time for Boise State football and our university as a whole, Director of Athletics Jeremiah Dickey said in a statement. I truly believe it's my calling to be the head coach at Boise State, Danielson said. His deal will start at $2 million per year this season, increased by $100,000 over the course of the 5 years. The total deal will end up at nearly $11 million for the 5 years. You know, these numbers seem paltry in this day and age, don't they? Talking about a head football coach in a major program making $2.2 million. He is expected to be the second highest paid coach in the Mountain West to Dan Mullen of UNLV. Of course, taking over for one Barry Odom. Dan Mullen, they're throwing $3.5 million at Dan Mullen. Okay, Utah State's Bronco Mendenhall. Again, we're talking about guys that have succeeded at the Power 5 level in Mullen especially, and Bronco Mendenhall, who did a decent job at Virginia, led them to an ACC championship game. So he's set to make $2 million a year. So he's going to be in third place in the Mountain West. It's a significant jump from Danielson's original contract, which was $6.5 million for 5 years. He was promoted from DC to interim coach. We talked about Avalos leaving, of course, at the end of that 2023 season, even though the school was positioned to go to the conference championship game. So Danielson finished it off with 3 consecutive wins and then the win in the championship game. And, of course, the AD saw how the team responded to Danielson. They love the guy. Have you ever seen these reels that come down? You know, with all the reels and the shorts and the whatever else they're called, stories, you get the one good thing about that, even though that is killing all of our attention span, you do get to hit on a lot of topics in a short period of time. So I've seen Danielson talk. I've never seen the guy talk for more than 30 seconds, but it's 30 seconds, 30 seconds, 30 seconds, 15 times on these reels, and with the players that vouch for him and what a great job he's done. So the players love him. He almost had a Heisman Trophy winner and did get the number 5 pick in the NFL draft in Ashton Genty, technically number 6 in the NFL draft. And so Spencer Danielson, congratulations, doing a great job at Bowling Green. And based on what I've seen out of the young man, can't believe I'm calling college football coaches young men, but they are in comparison at this point of my life. Yes, doing a heck of a job there at Boise State, and I love everything I hear out of the guy. Strong job retaining players in the wake of its playoff run. The school has also shown a significant commitment to both the coordinator pay and salary for the staff. Okay. Also wanted to hit on this TV note right here. Few of you probably care, but this coming down from ESPN and one Kyle Bonagura. Pac-12 has finalized its television partnerships for the 2025 season. And remember, the Pac-12 is the Pac-2 once again. For one more year, we're going to have 2 teams playing in the Pac-12. So they have signed a contract, has the Pac-12. This league is done about as well as it could have at this point. Getting the 6 in, well, I think it's 5 currently. Is it not 5 coming in from the Mountain West to add to the 2, and they need 1 more, right? Or did they get that 1? We'll probably see in this article. I forget. So the Pac-12, despite all of its issues in fielding 2 football teams the last 2 seasons here, they do have a major contract here with CW, ESPN, and CBS. What's funny about that, when you read it that way, that they've got TV contracts with the CW, with ESPN and CBS, they basically have TV contracts with the CW. because the reason ESPN and CBS are airing those games would be because of the opponent in those games. We'll see here, I'm sure. Quote, having Pac-12 football featured across the three leading broadcasters in CBS, CW, and ESPN in 2025 will provide tremendous exposure, says the Pac-12 Commissioner, Teresa Gould. We are thrilled to continue our partnership with ECW, and I'm sure they will continue that partnership the next season, would be my guess. Welcome new partner in CBS Sports and a return to Pac-12 football on ESPN. So the games we've got here. So the CW, which had the rights to all the home games for Oregon State and Washington State last season, will retain most of the 13-game allotment, 9 games for the CW. ESPN's got Cal at Oregon State. That's a late night game on August 30th. August 30th, I believe that's a Friday night. And then ESPN's going to show the Houston at Oregon State game, September 26th. CBS gets the Apple Cup. Love it. Washington, Washington State, of course. That's on September 20th. That will be a primetime game in the Eastern time zone. And the first of 2 matchups between Oregon State and Washington State. So they're playing twice. So ESPN shows one of those. CBS shows one of those. So that's a good deal with CBS picking up the Oregon State-Washington State game. That's a good deal. Okay, the announcement did not include any details about anything for the 2026 season. So it's Boise State, Colorado State, Fresno State, Utah State, San Diego State, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Added to the 2, we get to 7. I believe they're still looking for at least 8. Yeah, there it is. Before the 26th season, the Pac-12 also needs to add at least one more football playing member. So we will probably have to dig into that at some point, as we often do. And I believe we already posted a video looking at the contenders a long time ago. So we'll have to revisit that, looking at the candidates for the final spot that is needed to go to 8 teams to have a legitimate conference champion. Firm's Paradox is telling us that Mullen did a hell of a job at Mississippi State. He did a nice job there. Actually did a nice job at Florida for the most part until the final 6 weeks of the final season. He should still be at Florida now if he didn't act like a fool. Hey, Josh, good to see you here. Future Pac-12 superpower, Boise State. 79, Jedi Buck, good to see you as well. Jim stopping by. Are you missing the weekly springtime severe storm warnings in the Midwest, Mark? I am. I'm missing them, yes. I am missing them. I will get blasted with the heat and humidity here very soon, though. But right now, it's just about perfect. It's been perfect since, like, the end of winter. Edward, good to see you. We've got Daniel. Cheryl's here! Cheryl has a special place in our hearts, of course. If you know, you know. Somebody put that out there somewhere. I don't know when this was. It's been a while. I'm on to that saying now, but somebody put the acronym out there and I had to look it up. I was like, oh, got it. All right. We will keep moving along. So those are the headlines today. Again, Oregon State, Washington State, the Pac-2/Pac-12. They've got a TV contract, so they're happy about that. Would love to see the dollar amounts going to the Pac-12. I would love to see that. Then we also have, of course, Spencer Danielson, Boise State head coach, a whopping 50% raise. No, a whopping, it's 100% raise. Got 100% raise. He was making $1 million. Plus, he's getting to $2 million plus, 2.2, 100% raise. Man, how do I get that deal? All right, before we get to the coaches' rankings, which we may or may not finish today, we've got our Iowa show coming up at 5:30 Eastern, and I should probably prep for that. I can't let Corey Brad take all the glory and the analysis, even though he's the guy to do it, of course. He's the Iowa guy. I like to prep a little bit, at least know what's going on to a certain extent. We'll see. We would like to remind everyone that we've got some great things going on here at the Voice of College Football on the social media front. We've got this. It's Instagram at the Voice of College Football. So check us out on Instagram. Gabe and Patrick are doing a phenomenal job. I have been overwhelmed, pleased to the hilt of what these guys have done with our Instagram. So check it out. Please follow us on Instagram, and you will get a nugget or two every day of college football information with a spin. It's really good stuff on Instagram. Voice of College Football. Please follow us on Instagram and, of course, on Twitter as well. My one-time Twitter account is now the official page for the Voice of College Football. So you can follow the entire network there at the VOCFB on Twitter /X. Or you can also follow me. Let's check that out. I'm sure you're all waiting to see where you can follow me. There we go. My handle is MarkRogersVOCFB. So you can follow me right there. A lot of college football and a few other things mixed in when I'm opinionated about maybe what's going on in this world. That happens from time to time. So check me out at MarkRogersVOCFB. Yes, we missed you, Cheryl. Hope everything's going well. And the book, Disputed National Champions, the link is in the description section down below. To our 2025 coaches rankings. Blue Wolverine, VOCFB, Michigan, and Ohio State shows are growing steadily. Good job, Mark. Well, in all truth, right now, I'm doing very little, basically nothing on those two. I do host the Ohio State show on Wednesdays, but thank you for that, Blue Wolverine. I laid the groundwork. So I got us to about maybe 6,000 subscribers on the Michigan channel. And TJ, John, those guys have done a phenomenal job blowing up the Michigan channel. We've got Garrison, we got Ryan, we got Mike Wilson, we got a host of Buckeyes on the Buckeye channel. So check it out as well. We've got Ohio State shows all over the place. Now, Michigan is Tuesday and Thursday night. So check it out. And then the Ohio State shows they're all over the place. They're like 3 nights a week. I think Monday, Tuesday, Thursday. And then we do the Buckeye show with Steve Hellwagon and Tony Gerdeman. Join us every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Eastern time. But Blue Wolverine, thank you for that. Okay. Before I unveil the coaches' rankings, we do not want to go to the top, do we? No. Can't spoil the... So if I made a few mistakes here, I'm not talking about the rankings, like if I maybe forgot somebody, because let's see, we got 69 in the list, we got 70 teams. Washington State, Oregon State, I missed somebody in here somewhere, unless my numbering system's off. So we'll get this corrected here. We're doing a workshop here, basically, is what we're doing here. So This is not a finished product, not polished. And again, in the previous years, we've done this by way of videos. And it's been polished with graphics and my final analysis and everything. I'm just spitting, just spitballing, shooting from the hip on this one. So we may make some changes. And again, we may be missing one coach in there somewhere, unless I thought I had them all from last year. We lost Mac Brown, Ryan Walters, Dave Clausen, Gus Malzahn, Neil Brown, Troy Taylor, which means we got to get in Bill Belichick, Barry Odom, Jake Dickert moved from Washington State to Wake, Scott Frost, Rich Rod, and Frank Reich. I got all those guys in. All right, we'll see. Gregory is like number 14. He's like number 14. Hopefully the first of the 14th of many. So Gregory, thank you for encouraging everyone to hit the like button, please. George is here listening in. He probably can't stand that he can't contribute today, but he's listening and learning. All right. So again, those are the coaches we lost after the 2024 season. I still had my list for 2023. Of course, you go back 2 years, a lot of big-time coaches went their separate ways. Nick Saban, Jim Harbaugh, Jimbo Fisher, Pat Fitzgerald, Chip Kelly, Mel Tucker, Dino Babers, Dana Hogerson, Tom Allen, Jeff Hafley, Zach Arnett. And that's where they were ranked at the time. And none of those guys have landed back in college football as a head coach, have they? No. All right, up the list. And again, I must be missing somebody. So we start at 69 because these are automatically bullet pointed and numbered. Scott Frost, to me, based on what he did at Nebraska, I know he's coming back to UCF where he did magic, but that was a long, long time ago. So as it stands right now, somebody's got to be last. And for me, it's Scott Frost. He was a train wreck at Nebraska. He took 8-4 talent and he won 3-4 games. He had a losing record every year, could not get to a bowl game, had the worst fundamental team in college football, could not correct problems, had the same issues every year, made bad decisions down the stretch of games. That's why he majored in one-score losses. He was the worst. I put him up against all these coaches, and I just flat out had to say, do I think Scott Frost is capable of leading a college football program? Well, he did at UCF, but we are 7 years removed from that. Scott Frost is right now the worst college football coach until further notice. He's the worst in the power conferences. Okay, Jimmy Rogers comes in from the FCS. He's at Washington State. This is my theory on new coaches. My theory is basically that I put them at the back of the line unless there is somebody who is currently a college football coach at that level who is doing a poor job. So Scott Frost has done a horrible job at Nebraska. Jimmy Rogers has done no job at any power conference school, so we put him at 68. Trent Bray took over for Jonathan Smith at Oregon State. He is a all-time great Oregon State Beaver. Longtime staffer, was the defensive coordinator. He's a top 5 tackler in the history of the program, was a bowl game MVP. There you see his defensive coordinator stints going back to 2018. So he takes over for Jonathan Smith. They go 5-7. And that was not against a Pac-12 schedule. That was against a bad schedule, a weak schedule. Their big accomplishment was defeating Washington State. So at number 67, we got Trent Bray of Oregon State. Up one notch, we got Tony Elliott of Virginia. And of course, the previous season, he had to deal with that No, are we going back 2 years now? Let me think. So they had the tragedy at the conclusion of 2023, or was that 2022? Regardless, he won 3 games each of his first 2 years at Virginia. Again, let's understand that for one off season after the tragedy in losing a few football players and just the devastation on campus and what they had to deal with, he was not a football coach in a sense for about 3 months, and maybe longer than that. I don't want to put any kind of time limit on tragedy and recovery from that type of situation, but he was basically counselor and overseer of young men. So that could not have helped. We know the long-standing history at Virginia is bad football, never competing for championships. Bronco Mendenhall led this program to an ACC championship, which was the combination of near miracle and them playing in the Coastal Division. So Virginia 5-7 with Tony Elliott. Of course, he learned his trade most recently from Dabo Sweeney. We'll see if he's able to do anything with the Wahoos. At number 66, we've got Tony Elliott. Deshaun Foster, of course, hit the national stage at Big Ten Media Days in Indianapolis, and it was rough. Does that have anything to do with coaching football? No, not necessarily. It just presented him in a poor light to start out his tenure at UCLA. Was he already the head coach and working on his job? Yes. But in terms of a national debut, he had no idea what he was talking about. It was just an odd situation. And then they go into the season and they play horrible football for the first 4 weeks. And it appears at that point that he's in over his head. Great all-time UCLA player. Excellent NFL running back as well with the Carolina Panthers. This is a guy that still has the all-time single-game rushing record and was a second-team All-American player, all Pac-12 player, almost 5,000 yards, running backs coach, never a coordinator or a head coach. This team found itself against Minnesota. Then they went on a bit of a run and basically played really good football the rest of the year. Nobody dominated UCLA the rest of the year after they almost beat Minnesota at the Rose Bowl. They got down to the final 15 seconds before they lost that game to PJ Fleck and company. And then they beat Iowa. They beat Nebraska. They got some good wins. 3-6 in the Big Ten. I don't want to overplay it, but they almost beat USC. They only lost by 4 points in that game. So UCLA, Deshaun Foster, now with Nico Iamaleava as the new starting quarterback, this is an interesting situation. Let's not overplay Nico because he is currently in that category of more famous than good. He's one of those people. He's like Paris Hilton of the college football world currently. He's famous, but he's not that good. There are better players that we don't know about, or the typical college football fan does not know about. But it is Nico time. He does have talent. He's got an improved quarterback situation to Deshaun Foster, and we'll see what he's able to do. Apparently, UCLA is pumping money into athletics. Somebody woke him up out there. Moving to the Big Ten or something slapped him across the face. And so Deshaun Foster may have a chance to succeed in Westwood. At number 64, we got Justin Wilcox of Cal. They finished 6-7. They lost a bowl game. That's their second consecutive 6-7 season. This guy has gone 23-40. I am on the fence in many ways concerning Justin Wilcox. I thought he was a great hire. He built defenses at USC and Tennessee and mostly Wisconsin that were excellent. I thought he was a great coaching hire, young up-and-comer. And it's difficult sometimes to judge, maybe, because at Cal, they don't care about football. But the guy is 23-43 in conference play. Like, we think of Cal as being like average, 5-7, 6-6. And based on winning a lot of bad non-conference games, yes, maybe they're that under Justin Wilcox, but 23-43 in conference play, that's atrocious. So Justin Wilcox, based on the results here, I tend to think he's a better football coach than this, but the results tell us that his teams suck. So we got Justin Wilcox at 64. And again, here's another portion of this, is that you figure, oh, these guys are down in the 60s. They're awful football coaches. No, because this is a high-end occupation. You know, we are not ranking oh man, every example that comes to mind would be an insult to that industry or that particular corporation, so I don't want to say it. We are not ranking workers at the McDonald's window. Okay. These guys, almost all of them are really good at what they do. I remember, for example, being in a few meetings ranking directors at ESPN, meaning the directors that sit in the chair that direct the shows, not like the executive directors, like the suits. Talked about the directors, like they were all at the top of the industry. How do you rank these guys? Like the number 10 guy on a top 10 list is still excellent. So these guys know what they're doing. And I'm basically, it's basically an upward climb. You know, I don't have derogatory comments about too many of these guys because we've gotten past Scott Frost. Basically, I've got nothing to say about Jimmy Rogers because he's not performed at this level. And again, Justin Wilcox, he's got the worst performance of anybody else left here. Matthew was saying, Mark, do in fact rank workers at Wendy's. Phil is the best. Phil at Wendy's. If you want to hear about Wendy's, boy, I was explaining this to somebody the other day that if we ever have the opportunity for a Wendy's sponsorship, I should probably not say anything more. All right, let's get back to the coaches' rankings. First, reminding everyone that you can listen to the College Football Show on your favorite audio platform, Apple, Spotify, Amazon, also iHeartRadio. So listen to the College Football Show if you don't want to look at me or you miss it, and it's easier for you to go on your favorite audio platform. Also, subscribe. We've had an issue with subscribers in recent months. I don't know what's going on there. Please subscribe. Tell your friends and neighbors, tell your enemies to subscribe. Also, let's keep in mind that our On the Move show, the recruitings and transfer portal update show that we do with Leanne Herring, that's going to be Wednesday at 8:30 Eastern. That's 8:30 at night, prime time, On the Move for a third consecutive week. Until further notice, we're going prime time with the On the Move show. A lot to clean up with the transfer portal and high school football recruiting. We'll be here Wednesday at 8:30 Eastern with you. Jeff Levy, Mississippi State. Now, based on their first year performance, you would rank him last, and I get that. I'm going to go back to his reputation and the production he put on the field as an offensive coordinator at Ole Miss and Oklahoma. No, that is not his performance as a head coach, but he only has one season in. So I'm still somewhat optimistic about Jeff Levy. And Mississippi State did not get trounced for the most part last year. They did not get trounced in these games. They were somewhat competitive, but yes, they were bad. They were awful. Worst Mississippi State team since 2002. They went winless in the SEC. They only won 2 games. They lost to Toledo. Yes. So Jeff Lebby, obviously the ranking reflects the 2-10 record, but probably not as bad as other coaches who would only win 2 games at a place like Mississippi State, where look at Dan Mullen, look at, of course, Mike Leach. Mississippi State's a place where you can win more than you lose. You can go 8-4, 7-5 on a regular basis at Mississippi State. It's been done. It's been done pretty much since the early 1990s by everyone not named Sylvester Croom. Jackie Sherrill was winning at Mississippi State. He was going 8-4, 7-5. And Dan Mullen and Mike Leach. So I know it's poor Mississippi State. They're the dregs of the SEC, just above Vandy, but that's not necessarily accurate. They've got an atrocious football history. You look at the entirety of the history, and it's a smaller school, smaller attendance, doesn't really move the needle on TV or anything. But if you look at the results on the field over the past 3 decades, Mississippi State has been a fringe top 25 program most of the time. So Jeff Lebby, got to turn it around or you will sink to the bottom. If you have another 2-10 season, you will be sitting with Scott Frost. Scott Satterfield at Cincinnati. So he's been there for 2 years. They went 3-9, 5-7, of course, taking over for Luke Fickell. And we know what Luke Fickell accomplished at Cincinnati, but that was in the American Conference. Scott Satterfield operating, of course, in the Big 12. Cincinnati actually pulled off some decent games this past year. Of course, Satterfield's in that long run of App State coaches who had a great run there. He generally, yes, he underachieved at Louisville. When you go 1 game over 500 at Louisville, that's a 8-4 school. So Scott Satterfield is not accomplishing anything at this level of football. Cincinnati, Louisville, not good. We've got him at 62. And again, we may find that we've missed someone along the way, which I don't know how that would have happened, but I am human. Brent Pry at number 61 from Virginia Tech. They went 6-7 after 7-6. He's been there for 3 years. He's won 16 and lost 21. Obviously, he came from Penn State, whereas he was the defensive coordinator there. He took over for Justin Fuente, and Justin Fuente ran the program into the ground. Did not do a good job, and that's one of the reasons why Justin Fuente still does not have a head coaching job. We know what Frank Beamer built. Great legacy. Now, that program was not at its peak when Fuente took it over, but it was still going to decent bowl games, finishing fringe close to the top 25 when Beamer left. And then Fuente had 2 really good years and ran it into the ground, and the recruiting has been a mess ever since. The recruiting at Virginia Tech has been awful. And Brent Pry has not done much to improve that. And again, winning 6 and 7 games in the ACC is not impressive. Brent Pry at number 61. Number 60, we've got Jake Dickert moving from Washington State, where he did a decent job. There you see it, 23-21, to Wake Forest after the retirement of Dave Clawson, who I had ranked as, I believe, the 23rd, 27th best head coach in college football, something like that, despite back-to-back 4-8 seasons. I think maybe Dave Clawson saw, I'm at Wake Forest, and I've got to deal with this NIL era. Forget it. I don't know. Jake Dickert walked into a bad situation at Washington State initially because that was the situation where Nick Rolovich was shown the door because of COVID restrictions and he wouldn't get vaxxed and his staff and this whole deal. And it's right in the middle of the season and they fire the guy. And Dickert comes in, does a nice job as just the first-year defensive coordinator. So he did a nice job at Washington State. Again, even these guys that are ranked low, somebody's got to be ranked that low. I think most of these guys can do a capable job, but I'm already seeing where I'm going to make a change here very soon. Brent Brennan was awful last year. His team was awful, despite having a good quarterback in Noah Fafita and arguably one of the best wide receivers in college football, who was drafted, in the top 15? And Brent Brennan did not exactly tear it up at San Jose State at 34-48. Now, he did take over one of the worst programs in the country, and he did elevate it to 7-5, 7-6 level. Then he goes to Arizona, and they were not just 4-8, 2-7 last year. They were not competitive. They got trucked every week. So I'm not feeling good about Brent Brennan. What has he done anywhere? So he drops below Dickert, Pry, Satterfield. Okay, we're going to Brent Brennan. Based on what Deshaun Foster did last year, I'd say he did a better job. He did a better job. We're going to put Brent Brennan down there at 66. Excuse me. And yeah, I feel okay with the rest of that. Mike Locksley, 3 strong seasons in a row at Maryland, and competitive against Ohio State and Michigan and Penn State at times. Played Michigan twice, close, twice. Played Ohio State extremely close. Well, for the first half in Columbus 2 years ago. But this last year, first of all, I don't know what Mike Locksley did to earn the job. Besides be one of the many in the long line of the Nick Saban rehab candidates. So 4-8, 1-8 in the Big Ten. Only USC's pathetic approach to late game situations could save Maryland and give them 1 win last year. So before that, Maryland was humming along with 3 consecutive years that were their best since the early 2000s. The recruiting, I don't know if Mike Locksley can really recruit, because the location of the school seems to recruit itself to a certain extent, because DJ Durkin recruited well there. Other coaches have recruited well there. So Mike Locksley needs to turn around at Maryland. It does not appear as though this is the team to do it. So he may be on the hot seat. Mike Locksley, we've got at number 58. The 2 rankings that you see in the parentheses are basically the last 2 years. So Locksley was 53 2 years ago. Then after an 8-5 season, he was at 42, and now he's down to 58. Next on the list, we've got Baylor's Dave Aranda. (31-30) at Baylor, and he has been on a roller coaster, up and down and up and down and up and down. Decent season at 8-5, lost to LSU in a bowl game. Of course, they had their big 2021 season when they won the Big 12 championship, beat Oklahoma State with a goal line stand, and then they went to the Sugar Bowl. They finished in the top 6 or 7 in the country. But that was a 12-win football team that went down to 6-7, then 3-9. But again, Baylor bounced back this past year. We'll see what I think. It appears as though Dave Aranda, if he continues at Baylor, is going to basically continue to do what he's done since he got there. And they're going to be wildly inconsistent, and their performance and their record is going to just result in basically their transfer portal situation and whether the schedule breaks right. And being in the Big 12, you're always bouncing back and forth, most programs between 6-3 and 3-6 in the conference. And it's a couple missed field goals and some fumbles at the wrong time and a deflected pass every week between these Big 12 teams. So Dave Aranda has jumped around here. I gave him a big shot after that Big 12 championship, and then he dropped to 51, and now he's at 57, despite going 8-5 this past season. Fran Brown had a nice season at Syracuse. I don't know how much of that was Kyle McCord throwing the ball 500 times with a couple decent receivers, one of which I don't know if he has found a home. The slot receiver that caught 85 balls last year. Can't think of his name right now. But they're apparently a number of players are leaving. They've lost their best defensive lineman. They're getting slammed in the transfer portal right now, and their quarterback competition is down to Steve Angeli of Notre Dame and Ricky Collins, who transferred in from LSU. We know that Fran Brown did a heck of a job as a top recruiter, won the National Recruiting Award at Georgia, but I don't know if just anybody wins that at Georgia. And he was a position coach all over the place: Temple, Baylor, Rutgers, Georgia. And again, excellent job his first year at Syracuse, based on the record, 10-3. You go 10-3 at Syracuse, you got to applaud that. However, one of the games they lost to Stanford at home on a Friday night was deplorable, and it was his fault. It entirely was Fran Brown's fault that he could not do the most basic clock management. Otherwise, Syracuse beat Stanford. They go 11-2. That was the worst. That was the worst clock management I've seen in college football ever. I've seen worse in moments from Les Miles in particular, like making a dumb decision under pressure, like the situation at Ole Miss. But I'm talking about having enough time, having like 15 to 20 minutes of actual time and 4 minutes of game time to think through the situation and just to watch it unfold and blow the game. I've never seen that before. The last I can remember seeing that was Herm Edwards with the Jets. Fran Brown, number 56. Clark Lee, look at Vandy. So Clark Lee gets a bump from 66 to 55 after what was a remarkable season at Vandy. James Franklin would be proud. They were 2-22 in the SEC under Clark Lee, and famously said that they were going to build the greatest program in the country. He stated that during SEC Media Days, and he proceeded to go out there and go 0-8 in the SEC. But look at the performance, of course, the monumental win against Bama. Only lost to Texas by a field goal. Think about that. Texas was probably the second best team in the country. Vandy lost to them 24-21. They beat Georgia Tech. They beat Virginia Tech. Like, they're punching up in class, winning those games. Well, Bama, that's a historic win. But even Georgia Tech, Virginia Tech, and obviously if they won, what would it be? They must have won 4 games in the SEC. They must have gone 4-4 if they went 7-6. Now, they probably went 3-5 because they lost to Georgia State of all teams. So that would have been their non-conference loss. They beat Virginia Tech. They beat Georgia Tech. So, yeah, they lost. They only won 3 games in the SEC. They beat Bama. They must have beat Kentucky. And I think they beat Auburn. So, anyway, Clark Lee, with all the disadvantages at Vanderbilt, comes out with a 7-6 season. So, it's 1 year. Let's not go crazy. But that's big at Vandy. Let's take a break here, see what you guys are talking about. Exactly, Jim. Beat Bama, lose to Georgia State. as Troy V is telling us here, that Maryland puts a good amount of players into the NFL for a school that doesn't win. Yeah, the award for producing the most NFL talent with the least college success has to go to Cal. I don't think anybody challenges Cal. I think they are the award winner for least college success combined with the most NFL players and great NFL players. I'd go Cal number one. Then the other ones, besides Maryland, have had their spurts of success the last 15 or 20 years. I'm thinking Purdue. Purdue, as of a few years ago, was ninth in NFL players currently. North Carolina have had way too many good players to not succeed better. They've not won a conference championship since the early 1980s, since Lawrence Taylor. North Carolina, Purdue, Maryland, Cal. But Cal's the winner because Cal has sucked at football basically every year since going to the Rose Bowl in 1959, aside from a splash here and there with Aaron Rodgers. They had a team that could have gone to the Rose Bowl in 2004. They were in line to play in the Rose Bowl. And really, politics got in the way of them not having the pull of Michigan and Texas. Pat Narduzzi. This guy might be the least liked coach in college football. Give me a least liked coach. You may say hated, whatever you want to go with there. Edward Northwestern, producing NFL players and losing? No. Northwestern has one of the fewest amounts of NFL draft selections and first-round selections ever. Stanford, in the last 5 years they've sucked, but they went on a 10-year run of being a close to top 5 program in college football. No, I wouldn't put Stanford in there. Pitt. All time, Pitt has produced great college football players, NFL players. Dan Marino, Tony Dorsett, Hugh Green, Bill Moss. We could go on and on. Larry Fitzgerald, of course. But in the last 20 or 30 years, I don't think Pitt has produced a great deal of NFL players. And Pitt's basically gone 7-5 forever. Jimbo Covert, yes. Yes, we could go on and on with Pitt NFL players. Darrell Revis, yes. LaShawn McCoy, yes. All right. My question to the chat is least likable head coach in college football. And then I'm going to throw out, I don't want to sway anyone, Brian Kelly. We're going to see some Brian Kelly. Aaron Donald, yes. Bill Belichick. So we're seeing Brian Kelly and also a Bill Belichick. I would guess that we'd have some votes for Pat Narduzzi. I'm guessing Lincoln Riley might have a few votes. Maybe PJ Fleck might have a few votes. I think Dabo Swinney might have a few votes. Not from me. But so we arrive at Pat Narduzzi. Shane Beamer, really? Pat Narduzzi. So if you go back to post Marino, they were great with Jackie Sherrill and then into the Marino era. And then just after that, Remember, they lost to Ohio State in the Fiesta Bowl the year after Marino left. They were still really good. By about 86, 87, Pitt, awful. I'm sorry, they were not awful. They were 6-5 range when they played 11 games. And they've pretty much been that into Pat Narduzzi's tenure. You want to see a consistent 6-7, 7-5, 7-6 for 30 years plus, then you're looking at Pitt. Narduzzi takes over and he pretty much does the same up until breaking through with that ACC championship in 2021, right? It's been a few years now. 2021. Then they went 9-4 the next year. They beat UCLA in the Sun Bowl, if I recall, a very entertaining game. And so he was doing a nice job at that point. Well, they fell down to, I've got 4-8 there, 3-9 2 years ago. And then even this past season, this was the worst 7-6 team I can recall. They were terrible. They beat no one. They had a big showdown against SMU when they were still hanging on with a 7-2 record where they could have still had a shot to play their way into the ACC championship game. They were losing 48-11 in the third quarter to SMU. They narrowly escaped the likes of Cal on a missed field goal. They were just bad. 7-6 does not tell us how bad Pitt was last year. So Narduzzi right now is 65-50 at Pitt. I may have left off the past season. Great defensive mind. Had the best record in the Coastal Division when he could kind of lean on mediocrity there. But I think that they are going to have to turn it around for Pat Narduzzi because he's looking at 2 bad seasons in a row. We've dropped him from 33, 45, now 54. Willie Fritz at Houston. That 11-2 that you see there, never mind my notes. You can look at them. Obviously, they're there, but some of them are a bit dated. And Willie Fritz, of course, leaves Tulane, did a heck of a job there. Now, understand, at Tulane, it's not like he dominated at Tulane the entire time. It took him a long time to get that program to where they were rolling the last 2 years he was there. You see 54-47 at Tulane, and they went 12-2 and 11-2 his last 2 years. So they were 2-10 a few years before that. So Willie Fritz just made a late run at Tulane to set himself up for the promotion to Houston. And of course, they were lousy last year. So now he's in Houston. He's surrounded by NFL talent, but can he get them to come to Houston or a portion of them so he can compete in the Big 12? That remains to be seen. So wait and see on Willie Fritz. Of course, just the 1 year at Houston at 4-8. Sam Pittman at Arkansas. By all accounts, people like Sam Pittman. He's a dude that was an offensive line coach at Georgia, never was a coordinator, never a head coach, and he gets the job at Arkansas and does a really nice job for the first few years. And now, again, difficulty recruiting what is a lowly rated state for high school football. Arkansas has not made any kind of great waves in the transfer portal at all. And I think if he plods along at 7-6, of which that's what he turned in last year, he may survive another year or two. But Arkansas has got a proud football history. They fired Brett Bielema for pretty much doing what Sam Pittman's doing now. So comparing him to Chad Morris, who was a complete and utter disaster, put him in a good position for a few years. And they had the one nice season, 9-4 in 2021, beat Penn State in a bowl game. That's his crowning achievement. But 7-6 last year, won a bowl game, but 3-5 in the SEC. They're just beaten down in the SEC. We will finish out the top 50 during the remainder of the week. We got Brent Key checking in with Georgia Tech, and I know Brent Key. I think a lot of people would rate him higher. I've got him at 51. He took over a bad situation from Jeff Collins. So much credit due Brent Key. They were immediately better when he took over with like 4 games left in the season. They went from non-competitive at Georgia Tech, 3 years ago, to as soon as he took over, they beat like 2 decent teams right away. I think it was Pitt and Duke. And he finished out that year. Then the next season, they go 7-6. Now, if Miami kneels down, that 7-6 with the bowl victory is 5-7. So he was that close. He was gifted an opportunity to finish 7-6. Now, of course, last year, their 2 huge efforts last year were taking Georgia to 8 overtimes in a game that most of us watched because it was phenomenal. It was Thanksgiving weekend, huge deal, even though it meant nothing to Georgia Tech in terms of championships. But that was a great effort. And they were coming off a Miami win 2 weeks earlier when Miami was a top 10 team. So on the high end, Brent Key showing that Georgia Tech can do something, but they still lost 6 games. They lost to Vandy in a bowl game. We got Brent Key at number 51. I believe we will take this opportunity, folks, to shut it down on a Tuesday right here at the Voice of College Football. Appreciate you stopping by. And again, this is our Coaches Rankings Week. If you have any interest in seeing where we rank these coaches after 2024, we reviewed that on Monday. Then we jumped in here with our coaches rankings, and I'm going to review this to make sure that I did not miss anyone. But we're going to go all the way up to number 1, of course, throughout the week. And I see Minnie in the chat. I believe Minnie's going to join me on Wednesday. I believe that is up to her. So we'll touch base on that. So we may have a good special guest on Wednesday, and we will continue our coaches' rankings. And Minnie apparently missed the Scott Frost ranking. I couldn't put triple digits next to Scott Frost. Had I had that opportunity, then we would have done so. All right, folks, we appreciate you being here at the Voice of College Football. I'm going to go study some Iowa football for about 10 or 15 minutes before our Hawkeyes show. So please join us on the Iowa show. It's coming up at 5:30 Eastern, just here in about 15 or 20 minutes, the Iowa show. And then we've got a litany of shows here at the Voice of College Football. Just please check out the community post on the channel each and every day where I run it down top to bottom. The next time you're going to see me is, of course, the Iowa show. But then on Wednesday, I will be here. Let's see. We got Ohio State at 11 Eastern, Ole Miss at 2. We've got this show, the College Football Show, at 4. And I've got the Miami show and the On the Move show. So you will get sick of me on Wednesday. So I don't want to throw too much at you today. We'll stop there at number 51. We'll do the top 50 in college football throughout the rest of the week, doing our coaches' rankings. We're still going to hit on all-time rankings and a top 25 post-spring. I should probably jump on that soon. Now that we have cleared spring practice, I'll give you my top 25 for 2025. All right, folks, appreciate you being here at the Voice of College Football. See you in 15 minutes on the Iowa show.
you.